Autumn has arrived, which means I now finally get to bake without dying of heat stroke, so that's exciting. This video includes 7 super comforting, easy to recreate recipes. We've got some autumn classics in here, some healthier breakfast desserts, and a cozy drink recipe. It's 9 p.m. on a Monday and I will be baking some cookies right now. Not just because I'm craving cookies, but also to self-soothe. A very embarrassing, borderline traumatic thing happened to me this afternoon and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since. Anyway, let's bake some cookies and practice self-acceptance. Okay, so more specifically, I'm gonna be baking a small batch of these autumn sugar cookies with apple pie topping. To my mixing bowl, I'm first adding semi-ground flax seeds plus a little bit of water. I'm letting that sit for about 3 minutes. Meanwhile, inside a smaller bowl, I'm mixing together the dry ingredients. So the flour, salt, baking powder, cinnamon, and cornstarch. Now to the flex egg, I'm adding vegan butter at room temperature, vanilla, and some sugar. And then I'm just hand mixing that for a few minutes until light and fluffy. Add the dry ingredients, mix it all up, and there you have some cookie dough. In the meantime, I'm working on the topping, simply just some in butter sauteed apple chunks that you can feel free to sweeten. You can also add some cinnamon or vanilla too. Make sure that your oven has preheated to 180 degrees Celsius and that your baking sheet is lined with parchment paper. Now, using my ice cream scoop or 2 tablespoons, divide the batter into 5 to 6 large mounds of dough. There's no need to flatten these with your hands since they're going to become quite flat anyway. Important note is to leave enough room between the cookies though, so they don't turn into one giant cookie sheet. I had a small cookie as a late night snack here, but then the following morning I put a bit more effort into the presentation. These are super nice, super cozy. They remind me a bit of the Taylor Swift cookies. I will link that video in the description as well if you want to check it out. Okay, let's move on to what might be my favorite recipe from this particular week. Quick homemade sage focaccia. Now the word quick here is relative because we're still making bread from scratch at the end of the day. To a large mixing bowl, add hot water, cold water, sugar, olive oil, and a little bit of dry active yeast. Set this aside someplace warm for about 5 minutes. Next, add the flour and the salt and mix everything up using a wooden spoon or a spatula. Mix for about 5 minutes. We're not kneading this with our hands because it's a very sticky dough situation here. Afterwards, transfer this to a 20 centimeter square brownie pan that is thoroughly greased with olive oil. I would even go as far as to recommend you lining the brownie pan with wet parchment paper first and then going in with the olive oil, just to ensure that the bread comes out really nice and easily. Either way, allow the dough to rest someplace warm for at least an hour. Now once it has nicely risen, we're going to drizzle over some more olive oil and of course poke the dough with oiled hands and then sprinkle everything with a bit of salt. Lastly, place some fresh sage leaves on top and then bake until golden brown. It's crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. It's so savory due to the sage. On Wednesday morning, I made these super adorable birthday cake baked oats. Was it my birthday? No, but it could be yours. First, I lightly greased 2 ramekins with a bit of sunflower seed oil and made sure that my oven was set to 180 degrees Celsius. I'm blending up all the ingredients, except for the sprinkles, in a small blender. So the oats, salt, baking powder, cinnamon, oat milk, vanilla, applesauce, protein powder, vegan sour cream, vegetable oil, maple syrup, blend until smooth. Then divide the mixture evenly between the 2 ramekins. And don't forget to sprinkle with sprinkles. For my frosting, I went for creme vega. You can also do yogurt here. And lastly, some more sprinkles for the top. A friend of mine wanted some of the focaccia and the cookies that I made on Monday. I can't eat this all by myself anyway, so this is actually perfect, and I also really need to leave the house. Hello! I've got another recipe for Wednesday, and this is not baking related per se. Now that it's colder, I've been really enjoying making cozy drinks for myself, just to help me wind down. And here making some peppermint hot chocolate. And I'm using half water, half milk here, just so it's not too heavy. But yeah, I'm just whisking up all the ingredients thoroughly, bringing everything up to a simmer, and then I'm adding the peppermint tea bag and letting that steep on low heat for about 3 to 5 minutes. So a cozy drink has become part of my night routine, oftentimes paired with some sort of mindfulness activity.
Just bringing the attention to the breath, noticing where you feel it.
Support for this video comes from Headspace. Headspace is your everyday mental health guide created to help you add more calm and peaceful pockets of time to your day. For the past few months now, I've been consistently using meditation to help me soothe my racing mind, especially at night. Not only has this been helping me fall asleep faster, but I'm also just getting more restful sleep. Around this time last year, I was averaging about 5 hours per night, but now I'm up to 8, sometimes 9 if I'm feeling crazy. So yeah, needless to say, I feel so much better. Apart from guided meditations, Headspace also offers a bunch of other mindfulness content. Personally, I've been really getting into their sleep podcasts, also known as sleepcasts. And these are basically bedtime stories where the narrator takes you on a tour of some sort of cozy, dreamy place. It is so calming. And whenever I meditate, I don't force myself to have no thoughts. I really just listen to whatever is in my headphones and try not to judge the few things that I eventually do end up thinking about. If you want to see how Headspace might be useful to you, you can get your first 2 months for free. All you have to do is sign up using the link down below or scan the QR code that's on screen somewhere here. I'm curious, what helps you wind down at night and fall asleep faster? Let me know in the comments. I love Thursday's recipe as well. It's for these mini pumpkin pies. In a large mixing bowl, place the flour, sugar, and salt. Prepare some ice water. Next, cut the cold in all caps, vegan butter into little chunks. Keeping the butter and the dough cold is really the most important part when it comes to making pie crust. Using a fork, you're going to mix and sort of mash down the butter pieces until they become little specks floating in the flour mixture. And once it looks something like this, add the iced water 1 tablespoon at a time. You won't need the entire cup. We just want to add enough water until the dough comes together. So once the mix feels like it somewhat holds together, dump everything onto the countertop and bring it together quickly using your hands. I think this was one of the first times I used ice water, and it made such a huge difference in how quickly and easily I was able to shape this. Wrap this up in some cling foil or parchment paper and put this into the fridge for at least 1 hour. In the meantime, start working on the filling. I made some pumpkin puree. Instructions for this are in my previous video. Yeah, link down below. Or use store-bought. To make the filling, first combine the cornstarch and oat milk and mix until smooth. Then add the remaining ingredients, which is pumpkin puree, sugar, vanilla, vegan yogurt or sour cream, maple syrup, cinnamon, pumpkin pie spices such as ginger, cardamom, nutmeg, and cloves, and a little pinch of salt. I'm now preheating the oven to 180 degrees Celsius, which is the temperature that everything bakes at. Maybe apart from pizza, because when you're making pizza, you have to turn up the oven as high as it gets. Unwrap and cut the dough in half. Put half of it back into the fridge, and now on a lightly floured surface, roll this out as thinly as you possibly can without it breaking or sticking to the surface. Flour the rolling pin generously as well, and then cut out up to 14 larger circles and place them straight into a muffin tin. No need to grease the muffin tin prior because there is so much fat in this dough that nothing is going to stick. If you're having trouble rolling out perfect shapes, you could technically just rip pieces of dough and stick them into the muffin tin with your fingers, as if you were working with Play-Doh. The most important thing is that there's no holes so that you can easily add the pumpkin filling. Yeah, and then bake these until lightly golden brown. These are delicious, but not overly sweet. If you want these to be sweeter, serve them with a dusting of powdered sugar or a drizzle of maple syrup or some whipped cream on top. But yeah, they're very cozy, they taste great warm, they taste good cold the next day. Okay, now we are fast forwarding to Sunday, since I didn't do any baking on Friday or Saturday, but I still have 2 more ideas to show you. In the morning, I made some super quick oat pancakes. Is making pancakes considered baking? Blend up everything in a small blender. Oats, a little bit of sugar, salt, baking powder, vanilla, applesauce, oat milk, vinegar. Preheat a non-stick skillet with a bit of oil to medium, then cook the pancakes. I did about a heaping tablespoon, or ice cream scoop rather, per pancake. Allow the pancakes to bake for 2 to 3 minutes on each side. Also, huge news, guys, I'm reading again. Thank you so much for all the book recommendations in my previous video. Here's a few of those. The reason for my reading slump initially wasn't that I got bored of reading. It's actually quite the opposite. My reading habits a few months ago were so atrocious. I became so obsessed with the books that I was reading to the point where I was starting to neglect responsibilities and good habits. So I had to quit, but now I really miss it and I'm trying to be better. I've started to set myself timers when I'm reading now. I don't know if this is relatable at all. Probably not. The last of today's recipes is inspired by a TikTok. If I can find it, I will link it down below. But basically, it's store-bought puff pastry topped with a layer of Biscoff. And then, this is my personal addition, a sprinkle of sea salt. And I'm rolling these like I would cinnamon rolls. And then cutting them into 3 centimeter thick bites. These took about 18 to 22 minutes.
Ich liebe das. Es ist wie so, kennst du so Videos, die man so einem Dreijährigen so vorsetzt, wo so Figuren so tanzen? Das ist meine Version.
These were super yummy. They didn't rise too much, but I guess this depends on the type of dough that you buy. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Headspace for sponsoring today. Check them out, and yeah, I will talk to you soon.